What's up everyone, it's Sinistry, and today Nintendo just dropped their newest Nintendo Direct with tons of game announcements that I want to discuss today. Now this video is kind of a 2-for-1. You're going to get 10 different announcements that I particularly was excited to see, and then a little bit of analysis about some of the themes from the Direct. At the end, we'll wrap it all up with some content that I hoped for, but that I didn't get from Nintendo. If you want to support this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump in and discuss the games and announcements I was excited for. First of all of these announcements are in chronological order, so there is no favorite announcement or anything, but I will start off with the announcement that I probably was most excited for, the first Splatoon 3 Splatfest. The first Splatfest, I guess technically, was in the Splatoon 3 demo, but because that wasn't part of the full game, this is the first post-release Splatfest. It'll be occurring on September 23rd through the 25th, so you can play it over that weekend, and I'm sure it will be a lot of fun. The theme is, what would you bring to a deserted island? There are 3 options, it's gear, grub, or fun. Personally, I'm going with Team Fun for a few reasons. First of all, if you don't have water, I don't know how you're going to survive on this island unless you have some kind of huge machine to make fresh water out of salt water within your gear. I'm assuming you're not gonna make it off this island, so if I'm not going to survive, I would at least like to, have fun before I peace out and, move on in the post-life or whatever comes next. Okay, actually thinking about it, this is a super morbid Splatfest and also very intense, so I'm very curious to see what people select. Let me know what Splatfest team you're planning on joining for this first true Splatfest. But now we're going to move on to Factorio, which comes out October 28th. Factorio is a resource management game, and I am a big fan of these kinds of games. I don't play them for very long at one time, but they are a really good change of pace when I get tired of the other kinds of games I play. I don't think I will be picking this up day one, but I'm sure I will buy it in the future when it's on sale, play it for about a week, and then play it again in a year when I get tired of my other games. On the other hand, Sifu, which comes out November 4th, is a game that I think I might actually be able to complete. Sifu's gameplay at first looked kind of boring. It was super slow, so I was like, oh, I don't know why I would want to play a very slow beat 'em up. Except then I learned about the age mechanic. So basically you continue to age throughout the game, and as you get older, you become weaker, but you gain more knowledge of more abilities. This is just a super fresh take on the beat 'em up genre. I'm really excited to play it. I don't know that I'll get it day one, but I think when I do get it, I'm going to really work hard to beat this game. And if you know me, that's saying something, because I've beaten maybe 10 games in my whole life. But moving on, we have Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. I don't know, it's the Final Fantasy rhythm game, and it's coming out in February of 2023. Another genre I'm a huge fan of is rhythm games. I love to play several different types of them, so of course I am excited for this game. That being said, I don't love Final Fantasy, and I also don't really love most of Square Enix's games, so this will probably not be a day one pick. But that being said, the music from these games is just so beautiful, so I'm sure I will want to play this game at some point. Also, it's worth noting that this game is going to have much more than just Final Fantasy music in it. It's going to have music from Nier, from Live Alive, from Octopath Traveler, and I think from another game that I just forget. This is just a really exciting game. I'm sure for people who love Square Enix's games, they are going to eat this up, and if you are a fan of rhythm games but not of these other games, then feel free to pick it up as well. I'm sure that the soundtrack will be glorious, there will be hundreds of tracks, so it will keep you busy for a long time. The next game on my list is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which comes out February 24th. Honestly, I love Kirby. You probably love Kirby. Everybody loves Kirby. It's super cute. And this is a remake, but it is a remake of a side-scroller, which is just a fresh kind of game at this point in time. There aren't a lot of really good side-scrollers nowadays, at least that I've seen, so I think that this will be a great game to pick up when it's on sale, or if I just don't have any new games for a period of a few months. I like that you can play co-op up to 4 players, and that there are also some sub-games, as they call them, but they're essentially mini-games. Although I don't really understand why they didn't put these mini-games over with Kirby's Dream Buffet, which would make more sense. I'm not really sure why they chose to do it in this game unless the original already had them. But in particular, I'm most excited for the Ninja game. Also, I'm just really happy that Kirby is continuing to get more and more games during the 30th anniversary because he deserves it. Though I will say I was initially upset at this trailer because I thought it was going to be a completely different game, which was something I had hoped for, and I got crushed. However, something that didn't crush me was the reveal of The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So obviously we've all known for several years that Breath of the Wild was getting a sequel, and Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the new sequel. It comes out May 12th of next year, so we do have some time before it's out, but at least it finally has a confirmed date so people can stop speculating that it will never be released. Breath of the Wild is my favorite Zelda game. It's the only one that I've played to the extent that I have, although I still have not beaten it. But it is such an innovative game in general. I think that it's super fun, and I'm really excited to see how Tears of the Kingdom builds off of Breath of the Wild while still maintaining some of the core components. I do have to say I'm probably not going to get this day one purely because I have not beaten Breath of the Wild and I need to do that in order to get this game. I will not allow myself to just buy this game and never complete it as well. But that was pretty much everything we got about Zelda, so I'm going to move on and discuss A Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, which comes out summer of next year. I'm going to discuss farming sims at large a little later on, but this one in particular caught my attention. Now, growing up, I was not a Harvest Moon player. I basically knew nothing about the franchise. It wasn't that it didn't interest me, it's just that other games interested me more, so I never got around to playing it. Story of Seasons is technically a different franchise, I guess, but it's basically the spiritual successor to Harvest Moon, so I'm sure that this game will be, very reminiscent of those early Harvest Moon games. I know that this game is going to be a remake, so it is not new content, but it does nevertheless feel very fresh against all of the other farming sims. For one thing, the fact that people actually age in this game is really exciting. It adds a bit of depth to the game and makes it feel like there are actual stakes to what you do throughout the game. And a great example of this is your child, and depending on how you raise them, they actually will choose a different life path, so there actually is a tangible stake at play. I think this game is probably the only one I will purchase day one, purely because it is a seasoned franchise, it is super cute, it has some unique mechanics, and I do love a good farming sim. But another kind of game that I love so much is the roguelike, and Endless Dungeon was announced for 2023. We don't really know a whole lot about Endless Dungeon, so I don't have much to say, but I'm always down for a new roguelike, so I am very interested in picking up this game at some point in the future. However, on the other hand, a game that I am skeptical about, that I don't know if I will enjoy, but I'm still excited for, is Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 also does not have a release date, it just says 2023, but I am still going to be looking forward to it next year or sometime in the future after it's out. Also, just gonna note here, I got a notification that Pikmin 3 Deluxe is on sale right now, probably because of Pikmin 4 getting announced, so if you don't have Pikmin 3 Deluxe, now might be a good time to go purchase it. And moving on to my final announcement that I was super excited for, it is kind of a 2-for-1 special. We have the N64 NSO games. So the ones that I'm particularly interested in are coming out in 2023, those being Pokémon Stadium and Stadium 2 and GoldenEye. Pokémon Stadium I never played. Actually, I've never played a single N64 game that was not ported elsewhere because I never had one growing up. But I've heard great things about Pokémon Stadium. I really want to play this game, so I am so excited to see it on the Switch. GoldenEye, on the other hand, I have heard so many things about as well, though not always for good reasons, but I am, again, so excited to play this very iconic game that I missed out on during my childhood. Now that's everything that I was super excited for, but let me know what you were excited to see in the Nintendo Direct. I wonder if we have anything in common or if there are any games that you were particularly interested in that I did not list. And now we need to discuss a little bit about the themes of the Nintendo Direct and some of the direction the Direct and actually the gaming industry has been going in. The first theme of this Direct was that Nintendo themselves kind of had some lackluster announcements, which made me a little bit concerned. First of all, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe courses that were announced for Wave 3, there were only 2. Like, where were the other courses? And also, why are they announcing them months in advance? I was just a little put off by this. It kind of felt like they weren't putting in the effort, or they were just trying to pad time, or trying to get more people to buy the expansion pass or get Nintendo Switch Online. And I mean, it's totally their prerogative to try to sell games as much as possible, but it just felt like it was so lackluster and underwhelming. And nothing really describes lackluster or underwhelming more than Pikmin Bloom. Now let me know if you have ever played Pikmin Bloom and if you found it fun. I played it for about 10 minutes and got super bored and never picked it up again. And I have never heard of a single person playing this game, so I don't know if anybody actually does play this game. I actually have a bit of a conspiracy about Pikmin Bloom. I think that this is the last-ditch effort by Nintendo to try to get anybody to play this game. By piggybacking off of Pikmin 4, maybe they think that some people will become interested in the Pikmin franchise and decide to go out and play Pikmin Bloom. However, I think they might have realized that Pikmin was not the right IP for this kind of game, and that Pokemon Go was so successful because of Pokemon. And then as Pokemon Go kind of developed and became more of a fully fleshed out game, it did become more popular because of the game, but it wouldn't be anywhere near what it is if it didn't have Pokemon. So realistically, I think this might be Nintendo and Niantic's kind of last-ditch effort to save the game before they decide to discontinue it. I would honestly give this game about 6 months. I think if they don't see a rapid growing player base that continues to come back day after day and preferably spend money in the app, I don't think they are going to keep this game alive. And yet another reason why I think they're grasping at straws is they are announcing this game right before it hits fall and winter in the Northern Hemisphere, which is super weird because then no one's going to be going outside to plant flowers. That's such a weird kind of concept, and the fact that they would wait until this late in the year makes me think they are just trying to time it with Pikmin 4. And if that's what they're trying to do, again, it just feels like they're grasping at straws. We're kind of going in circles here, but I really do not think that this game has a long lifespan left, and I think that the only way it will survive is if people pick it up. And unfortunately, I don't see that happening, and I would much rather see these people pick up Pokemon Go and have a lot more fun doing it. A different announcement that actually made me a little bit upset was Mario Party 1 through 3 being added to Nintendo Switch Online. Okay, this kind of made me mad because Mario Party Superstars just came out a few months ago. This game is still super fresh, and you asked people to pay full price for this game. It makes me a little bit upset because I feel like Nintendo is just slapping the faces of anyone who decided to buy Mario Party Superstars. To begin with, it's not that big of a game. It's really not the kind of game that you're going to be playing for weeks and weeks and weeks. Sure, if you have friends and you get them all together, you might whip out Mario Party Superstars, but you could say the same thing about Super Mario Party. I know Superstars is probably a little more beloved because it has those older game elements, but if you were going to add them to Nintendo Switch Online anyway, it feels like it was just a cash grab. But now moving on to the second theme of the Nintendo Direct, we have the lack of interesting games. Now, this isn't to say that any games that I was not particularly excited about are uninteresting, but it is pretty obvious that there were tons of farming sims and tons of RPGs and tons of sequels and remakes and ports. I don't think anybody would argue that it is not oversaturation. It's just to an extreme extent at this point, and we really need developers to start being innovative again. Especially with the Switch becoming a console for so many different types of gamers, I want to see something that's not just a casual game or an RPG on the Switch. And I know we're getting some of that, but it's not enough. We're not getting anything that feels like it's going outside of the formula. So let me know if you agree with this. I just feel like we need to start supporting indie developers a lot more who do these kinds of innovative games, because it feels more and more like AAA studios just don't care. We ultimately have the power, we as the gamers, not the developers. Sure, the developers are the ones who choose the topics that they make their games based on, but if we don't buy it, then they don't stay in business. I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy a game that you're interested in, but I'm saying maybe be mindful of the games that you're giving more of your money to. And if you kind of want a game, but you don't like desperately want it, maybe just wait till it's on sale and give some of that extra money to an indie developer who has an interesting game. I could go into this topic for an entire video, so I will kind of leave it at this, but I will wrap it up by saying it's not just a Nintendo problem, and it's not just a problem of the developers who publish on the Nintendo Switch. This is a problem across all of gaming, and it's a problem that we should really be mindful of turning in the other direction. So really, that was all of the kind of themes section of this video. As you can see, there are a lot of different themes that kind of showed up during the Nintendo Direct. If you noticed any particular themes, or if you have any kind of insight or any opinions that you want to add on to the themes I discussed, please let me know in the comments. But now we're gonna dive into the heartbreak section, the games that I had hoped for but did not receive. Okay, so I mentioned in the Kirby section that I was tricked by the trailer, and I thought that we were finally getting Kirby Air Ride 2, or at least Kirby Air Ride a remake. I'm still holding out hope that we might one day get it, and maybe if the GameCube comes to NSO, we will get Kirby Air Ride as a port. But I just really want this game, man. I just want a Kirby Air Ride 2, and I think that there's no better time than the 30th anniversary of Kirby. Now, something that I've kind of lost hope for is a Zelda GameCube remake. So there are a few GameCube Zelda games that people have been asking for remakes of, and I just don't know that we're gonna get them. I wouldn't be surprised if GameCube comes to NSO in the future and maybe they throw them on there, but I think that they are just kind of moving beyond that at this point. On the other hand, something that I still have hope for, but I guess I'm just confused about why it hasn't been announced yet, is a new Mario game. And no, Rabbids does not count. I think that they're holding onto this because they're going to release whatever Mario game it is with the Mario movie. It just makes sense from a marketing standpoint. If you have your biggest IP dropping a movie, why would you not release the game that also accompanies the movie? I don't know if it'll be Odyssey 2, I don't know if they'll give us some other kind of Mario game, but I do think they have something in development. They are just waiting for the right time to announce it. Finally, the last thing I had hoped for but did not receive is something from a smaller developer that I would want to buy on day one. I say a smaller developer, I guess what I really mean is just a third party. It doesn't have to be like an indie developer, because I know they typically get their own directs. But I just really wanted something that made me want to buy it on day one that was not Story of Seasons, because that's a remake, first of all, and secondly, that's a pretty well-established series. I wanted something new, and I didn't really get it, so I don't really know what to say, but maybe next time. So overall, as you can kind of tell, this direct was kind of frustrating for me as someone who doesn't really like RPGs and is tired of farming sims, and as someone who doesn't really care about a majority of the franchises that were discussed. I would say that this direct had only about 10 minutes of content in it that I actually was interested in. I still think that a lot of the announcements were solid, and for people who like these other series, they're probably super excited to see like Mario and Rabbids or Bayonetta or, you know, any of the other games that were announced. Or even games like those games that were already announced but were just shown off a little bit more. I don't think this was the worst direct ever, but I would be hard pressed to put it at more than a 5 out of 10. I think it was okay. It was just kind of meh. And that's how I feel kind of about the industry right now. It's just so hard to get innovative games on a more regular basis because these developers just know what games people continue to buy. So I'm kind of feeling, I guess, a little more pessimistic today, but I do have hope. I think that we can turn things around, and I do think that maybe in their back pocket, Nintendo and some of these other developers will put out some really interesting games in the near future. But anyway, that is everything I had to say about the Direct. What would you rate it? What were you excited about? Did you kind of feel like it was a meh Direct as well? Let me know in the comments. I would really love to have a discussion about this with all of you. And again, make sure to like and subscribe if you like gaming content. I'm primarily making Splatoon 3 content, but I'm also going to be diving into a lot of casual games in the near future. And I also will take video requests if there's anything that you want me to talk about. So that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.